and gentlemen, it's your boy UnclefOOlio, and I am back with another episode of the Kontroversy, ladies and gentlemen. As always, these episodes are sponsored by Nothing But Knicks. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Also, hit that notification bell to be notified. Pre-game coverage, post-game coverage, shoot-around videos, Coach's Corner videos, the Knicks report videos, NBA report videos, Queens Court videos. We have it all here on NBK, ladies and gentlemen. So make sure you hit that like and subscribe button to be notified of anything that we have going for you. In today's episode of The Kontroversy, we're going to talk about, do the Knicks regret passing on Donovan Mitchell? As we all know, Donovan Mitchell was a big topic of conversation in the offseason. The Knicks elected not to trade for him. He went to Cleveland Cavaliers instead. The Knicks just saw Cleveland this past weekend at Madison Square Garden on Sunday, and we won 92-84, right? But do the Knicks regret passing on him? Do you think there's some regrets there? And that's what we're going to talk about. And today I have a special guest on the program. Long time coming, ladies and gentlemen. Long time coming. He is the host of the D's World of Hoops podcast. You can definitely find his show. I have a link to his show in the description of this video. He is the one and only D-Poetic, ladies and gentlemen. So let me get D in here. And we are going to break this thing down and talk about some of these topics, ladies and gentlemen. So welcome aboard, D-Poetic. What's going on, my man?
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Josh. Thank you for having me. What up, chat? Hope everybody is well and ready to get in.
Yes, sir. I mean, listen, I told D we were going to get kind of right into it, right into it, and right off the bat with these. But I do want to say it's been a long time coming. I was supposed to have D on a long time ago. Everyone knows I kind of took a break away from doing these controversy videos, stuff with life, and everything that I had going on.
Of course.
But I'm finally back, and I was like, you know what? D has his channel up and running. Let me get D in here and kind of break that long awaited appearance for D. You know what I'm saying? So D, welcome. Throughout the course of this show, we're gonna go back and forth, talk about some things, debate, discuss, and also for those in the chat who agree with an opinion, disagree with an opinion, definitely put that out there in the chat. And then at the conclusion of this video, make sure you like and subscribe to D's World of Hoops, which is going to be in the description of this video.
Appreciate that.
So off the bat, listen, we're gonna just break the ice and we're gonna get right into it, D. So tell me, do you think the Knicks regret passing on Donovan Mitchell? Obviously, he went to the Cleveland Cavaliers. They gave up, I think it was 3 first-round picks. The kid Agbaji, Lauri Markkanen to the Jazz for Donovan Mitchell. Do you think the Knicks regret not meeting that package, or perhaps surpassing it to bring Donovan Mitchell to Madison Square Garden?
Yeah. At first, I was against it, and I had different reasons due to everybody else in the fan base. But I examined it closely, especially how the season's been going. And I had to eat the crow, and I had to say we needed Donovan Mitchell here for a plethora of reasons, but yes, to answer your question, yes, absolutely. If it was just to go for 4 picks, maybe a pick swap with that. Looking back now, you could put yourself in a better position to build this team. Could have had Jalen and Donovan Mitchell on your backcourt, and you could have built around that. It would have taken a couple of years. But I think that's a much better scenario than what we have at this present moment in time.
Right. And listen, I totally agree with you. I was one of those people, on my bullhorn saying, go get Donovan Mitchell, get Donovan Mitchell in the offseason. Donovan Mitchell isn't the only star that I want the Knicks to trade. Let's say in the last 2 years since I've been doing this, coming on talking about the Knicks on live videos, the Knicks need a star player, period. And I think they absolutely missed their opportunity. Not to mention, they wanted him. There was widely reported that, Leon Rose, Donovan Mitchell, very, very close. I think Donovan Mitchell was a former CAA client. And one of the things that was on the bucket list for Leon Rose when he got here was to bring in Donovan Mitchell specifically, not just any star, but him specifically. And for the team to absolutely miss this opportunity to go get him, I thought was a failure on their part, right? Yeah. And let's talk about, who we didn't want to give up in regards to Donovan Mitchell. RJ Barrett was floated in those trades. I think Woj reported that the Knicks were offering RJ Barrett, Mitchell Robinson, Obi Toppin, and 3 first-round picks. And that didn't get it done, right? And the Knicks, I guess, were reluctant to do that. Quentin Grimes, you heard, was quote-unquote untouchable in that particular trade. And I think, a lot of fans kind of were like, what do you mean he's untouchable, right? So I absolutely think they missed their opportunity. And I guess the reaction of the fan base is going to tell you everything you need to know, right? Because now everybody wants to trade everyone. Everyone needs to get traded, right? So how do you feel about the label of untouchable for like the Quentin Grimes, the RJ Barretts, and Do you think there was a trade out there that the Knicks could have done that they that you thought you would have been comfortable with at the time?
Definitely. To Quentin Grimes, nobody's untouchable on this team. That's number one. So that's true. That's a ludicrous position to take as far as building your team, especially with Donovan Mitchell on the table. Number two, as far as yes, I mean you could have put an extra pick, you could have put an extra player or so or something like that, sweeten the pot, and just go ahead and just get it done. And I think a big thing about this, because you know me, I'm scouting, developing, drafting, but I am very realistic as to what this New York Knicks organization is, and they don't value scouting, developing, drafting. They don't value those things. So their best bet is just to get a guy, right? It could be the guy, it could be a guy, tier 1, tier 2 type of stars. Just get them in, build around that, and see what it takes you. You're better off with that than trying to go scouting, drafting, and developing, because they have a treacherous track record of it. And quite frankly, I don't think they understand it. So yes, they had the opportunity to do so.
Give me some examples of what you say, a treacherous record of not developing, drafting, developing and drafting. Give me some examples of that, because I may disagree with you slightly. So I just want to hear your perspective on why you say that they did have a bad track record on that.
Yeah, I'm not talking about this regime in particular. I'm actually bringing, the course of the organization for all the years. For example, let's just go with the 2000s. We've had guys come in. Trevor Ariza came in, right? Cut him off after like the second or third year. As you see, he went around the league and helped guys win in this league. A piece that definitely should have been attained and built with. I think David Lee and Nate Robinson, when they came in, they were also kind of cut off at the legs a bit with business and stuff like that, because they were bringing in guys like Jamal Crawford, Zach Randolph at that time. You also have Wilson Chandler, Danilo Gallinari, Timothy Mozgov. That experiment got cut short because you brought a Carmelo Anthony. Kevin Knox really only played like a year, like with consistent minutes like that. Didn't really get a chance to really see what he could become. Frank Ntilikina to a certain degree, but he did play like 20 minutes for a couple of seasons. But I'd see the same thing with Obi Toppin now. I don't think that Obi's going to be like a fringe all-star or anything like that, but it's an investment. You still have to find out what it is. And I think the Knicks as an organization throughout the years, they just done a very poor job of taking those necessary steps to see what it is. They're trying to take parts of both worlds, smash them in together. The only issue is that I'm talking about this regime. The only issue is that I don't think they understand that delicate balance. So therefore, you're going to sign guys early. You're going to have misconceptions about team building, you know what I'm saying, and building a roster, which they've had issues with for 3 years. So I can use those type of examples.
Okay, I mean, listen, anything before the Leon Rose thing, we all know about. I can't disagree on that. Listen, That's one of the reasons why I have the take that I have. It's because not only have the Knicks been unable to draft, they've been unable to develop, unable to attract that star player here for years. There's no disputing that, right? And for all those tank warriors out there who say the Knicks should tank, if you go back to some of these years that D is talking about, the Knicks have had one of the worst records in the NBA, and they have been unable to draft that guy. You can go all the way back throughout the years, right? But we all know that. We all agree on that. If anybody disagrees with that in the chat, I mean, you're just completely fooling yourself and you're completely naive. But in regards to this regime, you mentioned Obi Toppin. So to me, I think that this current what's happening with the Knicks, I think they are developing, right? I think, and I had this conversation, salute to my guys on For the Love of the Game podcast, Hard Will, Worldwide L. We were talking about this last night, as well as on Die Hard Knicks with Ebru and State and all those guys. I think there's a difference between developing and rebuilding, right? Too often, those two things kind of get lumped into one. There's two totally different things. I think you can develop and win in the NBA. I think you can develop and lose in the NBA. I think you can develop and be mediocre in the NBA. I think you can develop and be in purgatory in the NBA, right? So I think when it comes to development, there's no way to completely quantify that. Like, I look at a player like Obi Toppin, who you mentioned specifically. Obi Toppin has improved from year one to where he is now in year 3. I think
minor or major.
Minor. But that's development. So but that is development though, right?
It's a minor improvement. A development has a course that goes through a process, where a minor improvement it's a part of the process of development.
So why is that not true for Obi Toppin?
What do you mean?
You said a minor improvement, right? A minor improvement is a part of development, the process of development. So why can that not be the case for Obi Toppin?
He's minorly improved. But has he developed? Right? Develop is like a finished process. Like, I don't think he's developed. I think that he's had minor improvements.
Okay, so I guess where I'm missing your point is, of course, I don't think there is a finished product to development. I guess that's where we kind of digress. I don't think there is a finished product to that. That product is still everlasting. Julius Randle's still developing, in my opinion. Right? So no one's ever going to be fully developed. But to say that there's no, like, those minor improvements are not developing, to me, that's where I guess we disagree. I look at a player like Emmanuel Quickley. Emmanuel Quickley is kind of a good defender now, right? You never would have thought Emmanuel Quickley would have been this type of defender his first year in the NBA, right? So to me, that's development, improvement, however you want to call it, right? But I think that's development. RJ, as much as I come down on RJ and come down on some of the fans who put this kid on the mantle, I feel like RJ has improved in certain areas, right? Certain areas he's still the same player, but he's improved in certain areas on the floor, right? His ability to finish with both hands, I think that's improved just a little bit, right? So I think there is development taking place. I just don't think that at the pace that a lot of Knicks fans wanted to happen, right? That's the difference here. And I got the next question is kind of going to feed into that. But you know, if you can retort, or I can go directly to the chat.
Just real quick. So let's meet in the middle, right? Let's say that they've minorly developed. Does that work? That they've
minorly developed?
Yeah.
Oh, that's okay. Fair follow me.
With that? Okay.
I'm very cool with that. Yeah, I'm very cool with that because again, development. A lot of times, development is not linear. Development is not you can't quantify it. Everyone develops differently, right?
That's true.
And a lot of times because the fan base, and I bring this up all the time, the anxiety of the fan base, right? You know, in the offseason, everything's good. We don't need to trade anybody. No, keep everybody the same. Stay the course, right? There's no games being played. And then as soon as that first tip-off, right, in Detroit, I was at the game, myself and the NBK crew. We were out there for the first game of the season. We beat the hell out of Detroit, right? Everyone's on this high, right? This high wave, right? You know, the Knicks are doing it right. The Knicks are doing it right. And then the minute we lose a game, that's when the anxiety starts to come. And then people tend to get hyperbolic, right? Refer to make extreme takes for one reason or another. And that's the part that I have an issue with because to me, Knicks fans will never be patient.
Yeah.
Never. They'll never be patient. As much as they say they want to keep everything the same and it will be this way if the Knicks would do it this way and if they will lose, that's not the case in New York. I'm telling you, not the case.
Yeah. And, you know, like with the development process too, like these guys, we still don't know who they are. So, and that's another thing. And that's RJ as well. Like, you know, we still don't know exactly what that complete package looks like. So in actuality, I think to be fair to them, it should be to be announced or a jury still out type of thing before we play jury. Well, now RJ is closer to us, you know, gaining a verdict, so to speak, right, than Obi or IQ. But I think my issue because of the play is that I don't want to give handshakes, daps, and all that for a minor development. And especially when I've had a guy for 3 or 4 years.
Right.
In 3 or 4 years, if you're in my care, we want to see something significant. It doesn't have to be all world. It doesn't have to be tier 1, tier 2 type of superstar. But it has to be something where you've taken a leap from this place to that place. Okay. And I think that's what's missing. And I think historically as an organization, that's something that has been missing where we haven't really, I mean, maybe Ewing, but I mean, Ewing was such almost a finished product when he even came out. But, you know, we've never really had that guy that we've had there since infancy and seen him grow and blossom, and we've rolled with that. Last time was Patrick Ewing.
But before I get to the chat, I see all the comments coming in. And once again, everyone, thank you for tuning in. Please post your comments. I'm going to get to you. I see a bunch of stuff that I'm chomping at the bits to get at right now because I see a few people out there that I want to shout out and respond to. But let me ask you a question in regards to this. How much of that do you think is on the organization, and how much do you think of that is on well, I think a lot of it's going to be in the organization. Let me just put that because a lot of these players that we drafted those players, right? And we missed out on others who turned out to be really good players. But how much of the current development process, let's just talk about with this regime specifically, how much of that is on the organization and how much is that on the fact that the player that they drafted just won't be that good? They have a ceiling that they just won't, going to hit that ceiling and they're not going to do anything further than that. And how much of it is on the fan base for having naive expectations for certain players, like, say, RJ Barrett, who for I have to reiterate this. I think it's going to be a really good player in the NBA. I just don't think he's him, right? He's not that guy. You know what I mean? That's going to change the fortunes of your franchise. Banchero down in Orlando, he is that. You can see it right now in year one. You know what I mean? You can see that on tape with your own two eyes. The numbers are going to tell you, obviously, but there needs to be context. You can look at Banchero and say, okay, he's going to be that guy. So, in your opinion, how much of it falls in whatever category that I just mentioned?
Yeah, great question. I think at the end of look, it's not a thing that you point the finger at one person, right? So there is blame to go around in different aspects of the organization, but I think you do have to primarily put it on the front office because they're the chess players that set up the chess pieces the way that they roll, and they decided on the direction. They hired the coach that they felt was going to be in cohesion with their direction. They built the roster the way that they built it for the last 3 years that was supposed to be in cohesion with their direction, the tips, or whatever they agreed on. Or even random, because sometimes players could come in and say, hey, I want to go this way. Maybe I want something like this. And they'll acquiesce depending on the status of that player. But I would primarily put it on the front office, though. Because it's your job. If you're seeing that guys are year 2, year 3, and there hasn't been a leap or at least a small leap, then I have to reevaluate my development team now. Okay, guys, what are we doing? Is Obi Toppin taking 1,200 shots a day, right? Is he working on his ball handling for 2 to 3 hours a day, or hour and a half or 2 hours, depending, right? Like these things have to be found out. Like, are guys working together in the lab together consistently? Are we keeping checks on that? Are guys building with each other? It's the whole things that go with that, and that all falls on the front office.
Okay, so I agree with you 100%. I'll take it a step further to kind of go with your point. The Knicks drafted Obi Toppin, right? When they could have drafted Halliburton or someone else, right? So that's where I would kind of lean and say, okay, it is a lot on the front office, but also like the second part of that is maybe the front office thought that Obi was going to be something that he wasn't, right? And Obi is just not that player himself. He's just not that player, right? So I do think you have a point in regards to the process and how the process works, because I think that's very important. The Knicks have, basically drafted the wrong guy. They've had opportunities to talk about Porzingis. In 2015, Devin Booker went number 11. You talk about Frank Ntilikina, forget who was in that draft, right? Or Donovan Mitchell was in that draft, right? Kevin Knox, you got Bridges, right? R.J. Barrett, talk about Darius Garland, Hero, all these other guys, Jordan Poole, you know what I'm saying? Right. All in that, and now Obi with now, whatchamacallit? Obi Toppin with Halliburton in that particular draft, right? And the Knicks needed a point guard at the time, right? So you can question the process, and I think that's very, very fair to do. But I think a lot of it was also on the fact that these players are who they are, and they're not going to be that level of talent. Yeah. Salute to the chat. Let me
Oh yeah, go ahead, dude.
Yeah, salute to the chat. Let me get to some people in the chat. Salute to Punch Nice. He said, "Why y'all still bringing this up?" I'm bringing it up because a lot of fans want to know why we missed on Donovan Mitchell. That's why. Let's everybody. Let's not talk about it. Forget about it. That's what
That's going to be a topic throughout the whole year, as long as this team is mediocre.
Yes, absolutely. Dripmore, salute. Keith Turner, salute. He says about 85 of Knicks fans was glad that we didn't make the trade for Donovan Mitchell. Let's keep it 100 in here. I know, and 85% of those same Knicks fans want Donovan Mitchell now and wish they had that player and want to get rid of some of those people, right? So. Keith Turner, I do agree with you. It was very, very, I don't want to say 85. 85% is kind of strong. But I do know a lot of those fans who were either on the RJ bandwagon, I wouldn't trade RJ Barrett for God, have now turned the cheek on that. And a lot of those fans kind of wish they had a star player in here to close games out. Reek OMY says RJ is not a star. He's an overpaid role player. I've always said he's not a star. Somebody lied. Okay, that's Rick Ross. I'm not going to do that. I don't think he's overpaid, though. I think, for a role player in the NBA, I think that, that's appropriate for him. Rotten Apple, 718 Williams. We always miss out when we have a huge chance and opportunity, always fumble. I agree. That's what D was talking about. Quiet Money, salute to you, my man. Freeman 40 says, yes, we absolutely should have gotten Donovan Mitchell. What's done is done. The RJ contract was a huge mistake, and we have to move him. See, I don't think RJ, the money, in regards to the money, I don't think the money was too bad. I think it was actually really good for him. because let's say it actually worked out and RJ became that star player, we got him on the bargain. But since he's not, and he's kind of middle of the pack, mediocre, he's had a tough start, but I think he'll turn that around and kind of get back into like that middle medium ground, and I think his contract would be appropriate for that. Jet Life for Life says, I was yelling for this trade, so I know what you mean, Josh. AD, my man, you say foolish? Is that a trick question? No, it's not a trick question. I already know where you stand on this, my man. DSJ, salute. Let's see if we get some other people in here. There's a couple comments that I've seen in here. Salute to Jarrell, my man. Good to see you. Shaw Powers.
It's good, Shaw.
All right. This is what I wanted to talk about. Randall's still developing, and salute to, I don't know if this is a hard will or L behind here, but did he say Randall, ninth year, still developing? Yes. Players develop throughout their career. You never stop developing. If you know anything about basketball or sports in general, people progress throughout their career and tend to take on different roles throughout their career. They have to learn how to do those specific roles or do different things. DeMar DeRozan, as Sim always mentions, is a great example of that. He was, 10th year, 11th year in the NBA, was able to score 30 points a game and was able to take a leadership role in the Chicago Bulls last season, right? He had to develop into that. He never was in that specific position before in the NBA. Players develop all the time. The development process never stops going. This is why you can't quantify it. You can't point to one thing and say that's the true metric of development. Points per game. You can't look at one thing. It's something that you just have to see and see that improvement from one year to the next. That's how you can determine what development is, right?
Yeah. Also, to another example, what's his name? LeBron James, when he went to Miami, he established his post game that he hadn't done in 7 or 8 years in the league before he went to Miami. And then when he went to LA, he made it a priority to shoot better for the 3-point line. As he did the last couple of seasons, he was shooting like around 35, 36, 37. So, yeah, you can always develop, bro. That's life.
Right, you're right. Exactly. That's just a natural fact of life, right? And then he goes on to say, well, how you saying there's development and you said we wasn't going to win? Again, development and wins and losses are two totally separate things because you can develop and win, you can develop and lose, you can develop and be mediocre. Those are two totally different things, and you will never know whether your development process worked until in the future. You just will never know that, right? That's why a team like Detroit, who's lost for years, I can't remember the last time the Pistons made the playoffs, right? People looking at them now saying they're developing the right way, but you'll never know that until a couple years from now, right? Young teams that, are going to – Houston is another team, right? Orlando's another team. But I think Orlando's different because Orlando actually has that guy that you can see in year one. Year one is just a different kind of player. He's on a different generational type of level, right? You can see that in year one. Houston and Detroit, those players haven't kind of stepped out like that yet. And I like Houston. They got Jalen Green and what's the kid that they drafted with the Banchero draft, the power forward, the one from Auburn. Can't remember his name right now. The young kid. Jabari Smith, right? To me, Jabari Smith, I think Banchero went ahead of Smith, right? But Banchero's balling. Right now, he's proven to be the best player in that draft. Right now, he's proven to be the best player in that draft. Smith is a really good player, but he ain't on the same level as Banchero, at least right now. You know what I'm saying? So that's why you can make the argument for Banchero and not for Smith, right? So you just got to give that some time. Sure. All right. JJ says, I disagree, Josh. A lot of Knicks fans want to rebuild. I don't think that's the case, man. I don't, JJ, respectfully. I just really don't. Like, people say they want to rebuild, and then, we get some hope. We win a few games, and then all of a sudden, like, it's just like, Hulk Hogan, like, one of those kind of things, Ultimate Warrior kind of things, and then people just go nuts. That's what happens, and then we get disappointed. We do this to ourselves every year. Like I told D, I speak fluent Nick. Fluent. I know how Knicks fans operate. So JJ, maybe you want to rebuild, but I just don't think that's the case with majority of the fan base. They want to win. They want to win. That's what it comes down to.
In my perspective, it's been like kind of split down the middle. I've seen people that would not embrace it and others that would. I think the issue becomes that I don't think people totally understand what that process really looks like. That's a 3 to 5 year process, sometimes 6 years.
Right.
And you're going to have your ups and downs. And you might miss on a draft pick or two during that process. Mm-hmm. But there has to be a plan, and you have to commit to it. And that's something that's very key in the development process.
Do you think, okay, and that JJ, an example is Philly. trust the process, right? They missed on a few. They missed on what was it, Okafor? They missed on, and the kid, the one that couldn't make the free throws, folks, or whatever it is. So they traded him away. They traded Jason Tatum away, right? So they missed on those, right? But Philly, right, after a while, and they were able to get Embiid, who's a generational talent. They were able to be perennial Eastern Conference contenders. They're still going to be Eastern Conference contenders for the last 5-6 years. They are that. They're still going to be that moving forward because they have that one guy, right? So again, every example of development is different. Let me bring this comment up right here. Freeman of 48 says 100% is on the front office. How do you reward RJ's mediocrity with a huge contract? To me, that contract's not that huge. Let me just look at him. It's not huge a contract, right? And this is why, Freeman, I agree with you in regards to contracts and giving RJ a huge contract. Many people wanted to give him the contract based on what they thought he can become. Me, I thought that was absolutely crazy. Some people want to give him a max contract. Remember that? Give RJ the max. Give him the keys. Give him the max, right? Which I was 100% against. So I just don't think it is a huge contract for RJ Barrett. All right, let me get one more comment and then we'll move on to the next. I know I've been doing this for a while. Oh, that's super chat. So look, Danny Thomas, thoughts on making a Randall trade straight up for John Collins. I have to take a look at the contracts, but I'm honestly leaning towards not doing that because I don't think John Collins takes us to another level.
Nope.
I think just, you kind of just replacing one thing with another. Like that's not going to make us better, in my opinion. I think Randall is better than John Collins, in my opinion. Yeah, so that's one of the reasons why I would not do that. Thank you for the follow out super chat, Danny Thomas. All right, and let's go to the next topic, my man. So next thing I want to talk about, and I kind of spoke about this at length. Everyone kind of agrees that the Knicks are kind of stuck in the middle of a rebuild and a win now situation, right? Everyone agrees that they're in the middle. They haven't really committed to one way or another. I agree with that to an extent. But do you think the Knicks are closer to a rebuild or closer to a win now situation? Whichever way you think they're closer to, state that and explain your reasons why.
Yeah, no doubt. Definitely closer to a rebuild at this moment in time. The reason why is when the concept of winning now is for you to be engaged in being of contention of an Eastern Conference Finals, a threat someday, a finals team, something of that to me, that's a win now, mentality. This team's nowhere near that. And right now, we're over here politicking and kicking it back and forth about, do they even make the play-in? Because I have them at 35, 36, 37 wins at best, maybe 38. Now, with everybody tanking and stuff like that, that could lead to them getting a 10 seed or something like that. That could happen this year because I could see people wanting to jump ship in order to get good lottery positioning. But we're definitely closer to a rebuild, without a doubt. We don't have the guy. We don't have a guy. We don't have a guy that's potentially could be the guy. So right now we're at square one, trying to acquire elite talent and look for that to build around. We're still on that journey. So yeah, we're definitely closer to a rebuild.
D, you surprised me. I thought you were going to take the other side on this and say the Knicks are closer to win now. I thought you were going to go there. But I absolutely agree with you. Absolutely agree with you, and I have some reasons that I want to state, and I agree with everything that you said. You make absolute sense with this particular take. First of all, the Knicks don't have that guy, right? That can be closer to win now, right? That's number one. Number two, the Knicks payroll tells you they're not in win now mode. Their payroll, right? Teams that contend in the NBA spend money, and they're going to spend well over the luxury tax. They got one or two star players that are either getting supermax contracts. I don't think the Knicks in their history have signed a supermax contract. They have not signed a super max contract. The Knicks are in no position to win now. So when fans say that, I absolutely disagree with them. I think to the fan base, it's win now, right? Because of that 4th seed season and bringing in Fournier to help that team take them to the next level to beat potentially in Atlanta, who we should have beat. I think to the fans, it's win now. If they're so hungry for a winning situation, that was their take. But when you look at it in the whole grand scheme of things, since Leon Rose has been here, the Knicks have not been in win now. And the icing on the cake for that situation is, if they were in win now, they would have made the trade for Donovan Mitchell. They would have made that trade. That's win now. That's telling you win now. You're getting rid of some of these young players to bring in a guy like that and some of those draft picks. That's win now. But the Knicks, to me, have not done anything to suggest that they are a win now. I know Leon Rose said in his little BS presser or whatever you want to call it, little interview or discussion.
The fourth piece?
Yeah, whatever that was. I know he said that, yeah, they want to compete and make the playoffs. But to me, making the playoffs and having that as your goal is not win now. That's not what that is. To a lot of Knicks fans, that's win now to them because we haven't won anything. We haven't been to the playoffs in X amount of years, right? So to them, that's win now. But to me, that I don't think that's win now. So what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I'm there with you. Now, where we might differ is that I think that there's confusion going on because if you are not near a win now product, right, then you wouldn't hire Tom Thibodeau because he's not the guy that will service the things that you need in order to rebuild. And I'll give you a clear example of that. Last year was a beautiful opportunity, and it was said and mandated by the organization that they exclusively wanted to see Emmanuel Quickley at the point guard position. They did that in Summer League. I remember clearly. And you had opportunities last year to insert him there so he could go ahead and get his rounds and do what he needs to do because that is a part of your rebuilding idea. But Tom chose game 76, game 77 of still starting Alec Burke at the point guard and him playing 25, 30 minutes on top of that, knowing that you were mathematically out. So right there, that's exhibit A for me to show me that there's different directions going on here all at once. And I just wish that they would just go ahead and pick a direction already.
I mean, I agree with you on picking a direction as far as rebuilding or when now kind of getting more closer to the end, to the end of that little scale, right? I do agree with you on that. But in regards to Emmanuel Quickley, first of all, I didn't hear that part, right? I know that there are people within the organization that are kind of split on certain issues, right? A lot of people don't realize this, but James Dolan tends to have this decision by committee approach to how he hires front offices and how he does business. That's how he is in the business world. He does the same thing with the Knicks. There's never that one person that's making all decisions. There's always going to be influences throughout the organization to have this kind of round table kind of thing. Ultimately, the decision does rest on Leon Rose, right? However, Scott Perry has a huge input about what goes on. Worldwide West, they didn't have an executive vice president of basketball operations before Worldwide West, right? So that tells you right there. That's another person coming in to making decisions, right? That's how Jim Dolan kind of goes about his business, a by committee approach. I think Steve Mills had a lot to do with what was going on when Phil Jackson was here, right? He may still have his hand in the organization a little bit. Who knows, right? So I think there is a realm of possibility where Emmanuel Quickley was talked about within the organization very favorably to be the starting point guard, right? But again, I go back to how the fans talk about him because I remember certain times last year, they didn't want to see Emmanuel Quickley touch the court. They didn't want to see Emmanuel Quickley touch the court. The beginning of this season, they didn't want to see Emmanuel Quickley touch the floor. Now people, want to use Emmanuel Quickley. Well, see, Emmanuel Quicklly could have been better with this, better that. You know what I'm saying? So again, it just goes down to, this is a lot of stuff that we don't know. And I disagree with the fact that Tom Thibodeau is not, he's only a win now coach. I do think he has some development under his belt. The example that you were talking about earlier in regards to having that star player, right? Do you think he developed Derrick Rose? Would you say that? Or was it just Derrick Rose's talent? See, no one.
I think it's a mix of both. I was going to say that.
Yeah.
Right,
okay.
where you knew year one Rose was like, oh crap, like this kid's gonna be something, right? But I'm very sure. And look, like a coach is like a parent. You know what I'm saying? Like they do guide you to certain stations and stuff of that nature. It could be from mentality, it could be from work ethic, it could be from skill set, it could be dotting out the X and O's, watching films, stuff of that nature. There's many different ways to do it. So I'm not gonna stand there and say that Thibs has been in this league for 30 years and he's never coexisted in developing, his team or players, on the team or something like that. But what I will say is that I don't think Tom prioritizes it is the word that I'm looking for. I feel like he wants a product out there that can compete first. then he'll go through anything that he needs to go within that process. And you could just see that from the ball usage, from the way he runs his offense, the way the guys get into certain spots that they start pounding the basketball and they get there. So you could see that in his mind, he's going with this live or die. So let's just say, for example, Julius Randle, RJ Barrett, which leads the team in minutes, and Julius Randle, you could tell he set that I'm going to build around this, right? And we're going to compete. And I think what happens with that is that some of the guys get lost in the process. So even though that Emmanuel Quickly is getting 20 minutes a game, for example, right? And listen, I'm not the biggest IQ fan, but I'll say I did draft the guy. If I did draft the guy and gave up 2 picks to go ahead and get him, you're damn right I'm going to put him in the point guard position to see what the hell he could do.
Quickly?
Yeah.
Give up 2 picks, like 2.
We gave up the first and we gave up the second in order to get him in the middle of that 25th.
Oh, you mean towards the back end of the draft, the back end of the first round is what you're talking about. Yeah, I mean, so to me, I mean, okay, I mean, I see what you're saying. You go ahead, continue.
Yeah. So just like, so to answer your question, of course, Tom has been involved in development and stuff like that. He's been a coach here for 30 years. Of course he has. If he didn't, he wouldn't have a job. But I just don't think he prioritizes that. I think that fit is everything. And it's like a relationship, Josh. Like, you meet some girls and it's like, yo, you look banging as hell, but we not a good fit though. So, I hit you up, but I hit you up type of thing. And it's the same thing. Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. No, I was going to ask, you're absolutely right. But do you think Emmanuel Quickly is a point guard? Because there's a lot of people in the chat, like Kevin Bergman said, Emmanuel Quickly's not even a point guard. So why would you even prioritize putting him there at that position when that's not what he is? So that's another question that goes back to roster construction, and that's going to be the next topic. But how can you fault Thibs for not developing quickly? And I think he has developed quickly, by the way. Quickly off the bat came in and took Frank Ntilikina and Dennis Smith Jr.'s minutes away from him. Like took it out away from him as a rookie. You know what I'm saying? So at what point do you give a lot of credit to Thibs for that process?
Okay.
Quickly, I'm not disagreeing with you fully. I'm just asking that other side of the question.
Of course, and we'll build on all sides. That's fine.
Yep.
Personally, I don't think IQ should have ever been mandated to be a point guard in any way, shape, or form. That's just my opinion. I would have not built the way he was in year one. You should have just kept it like that and just built through his strengths and weaknesses that way. Was him off the ball. He's running a lot of pin down. He's running a lot of double staggered screens and stuff like that. It was beautiful for him. And it works so well. And then sometimes you can put him in a pick and roll because he does have some playmaking ability. But in order for him to be a full-time point guard, no, I disagree with that. Now to Thibs now. I've had many theories going around as to how the front office and coaching staff works. But I will say this, though, that I think Thibs is doing what he feels is best with the cards that are being dealt. Now, whether he had a yay or nay in that, we'll find out. Time will only tell that. I personally do think that he might have had a yay or nay in most of the decisions. So if that's the case, then this falls on him as well, and he's not a victim to the circumstance of just a bad card dealt. But anyway, the point being is that I think he's done what he can with it. And you see, like, he tries different things. Like, he's ran sets this year with IQ completely off the ball, bro.
Right.
And then he's ran sets where he's running them exclusively in the pick and roll. So he has tried different flavors to see how it can work. My thing is that I just think that there's better qualified coaches to do exactly what it is you're trying to look for to get the best out of these players that you drafted and put into the system in order for you to build with throughout, the whatever your regime stands for.
Got you. Okay. I mean, that's a very, very fair point. Let me just get to some of these comments in the chat real quick before we get to our final topic. Pudge Knight says, y'all don't want us to win. Come on. Come on, man.
I don't know, bro.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I want the Knicks to win. Like I said, I want the Knicks to make trades years ago. So I want them to win. I want them to contend, right? But I'm just calling it like I see it, and not everybody's going to be happy. I've accepted that. Freeman 48 says he agrees we're closer to a rebuild. Knicks Worldwide, salute. He said the owner hired a super agent who hired a win now coach. It's always been win now. I mean, prove it. How? Is that the only point you can make? That it's all like the organization is going to go win now. To me, you got to spend money. And I forgot to do this. I had this graphic in here, and I didn't put it up. But this right here is the Knicks salary situation. You know what I'm saying? I forgot to put it up earlier, but this is their salary situation for those who can see it, right? Right now, they're spending $142 million right now. That is like, I want to say
8th cheapest in the league.
Right, 22nd in the NBA.
Yep.
I mean, let's just be real here. The Knicks are not spending a lot of money. Where's the Supermax contract? Where do you see a Supermax contract or a max contract anywhere in there? Like, I mean, to us, regular folk, that's a lot of money, $20-something million. You know what I'm saying? I'll take it every day of the week. But in the NBA circles, that is not a lot, right? So this does not scream to me a team that is looking to win now just by looking at this, right? It just doesn't, right? Who's going to be our all-star? Julius Randle, all-star caliber, I would say. Brunson, all-star caliber, maybe, right? But we don't have that guy that's going to be consistently in the all-star game every single year on this roster. So how is that win now? That's just that's the part I don't understand. Maybe D, you have an answer as to why people feel that way. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the reason why is because if you realize that Julius Randle, for example, is not the guy, for example, right? Then why continue to build around him? And
I don't think they're building around him though. That's the thing. I think.
Then what the hell is he there for then?
I mean, he's a piece. They consider him a piece to the puzzle, right? I don't think that he is the focal point that the organization is putting all their pieces around. They're not marketing him to be the number one guy. Like, I think that's two totally different things. I think he's there to be a piece. And if he doesn't work out, eventually he will be traded. But to say that he's the guy, I just don't think
I'm saying in their eyes, because then why would you prematurely sign him?
Well, they prematurely signed him to a reasonable contract. They didn't prematurely sign him to
I understand the money part. That's the money doesn't justify him being a tier one guy that you bet. We know that already. I'm just saying that, but I think inside their eyes, they're still kind of building around that. And last year, they definitely built it around Julius Randle. You cannot say they did not build around Julius Randle last year.
Explain why do you feel that way?
Well, because of the success that they had in the Cinderella season. And then they decided inside their minds, they said that we needed to put more offense around Julius Randle because we saw against the Atlanta Hawks that when they converged 2 or 3 guys on him, that nobody else was able to score.
Right.
You see? So that's why they added a sharpshooter like Evan Fournier that could space the floor, because when that double team comes and they ball reverse, he's going to be open on the swing pass, so to speak, right?
But they had Reggie Bullock the year before. So you don't think Evan Fournier was brought in to just replace Reggie Bullock, who they lost, right? And I'm not, completely agreeing with the Evan Fournier move. But if that's what you're saying, because they went to the 4th seed the year before and they signed him to that contract right there that they were attempting to build around him, maybe in the moment, maybe in the short term, they needed to build a team, having him the focal point. But to build to say that the future is hinging on Julius Randle, you didn't say that specifically, but that's what I was getting at. Like the future is not set on Julius Randle. You don't agree with that, do you?
No, of course not. No, look, I think it's a short-term thing. But my thing is that I just would have done it the opposite. If I knew that Julius wasn't the guy, I need to find the guy first, or the guy that may be the guy or a guy first before I start building pieces around.
I agree with that.
Because if I bring in a guy and him and Julius Randle don't complement each other, then I got to get rid of him. And you've seen that I don't think that's going to be an easy task. So right. So that's where I'm getting at. So I'm saying that I think out of default, out of what is presented to him at the point of time, they are building around that. That's why they brought in the Jalen Brunson and stuff to get the pressure off Julius Randle, for him not to handle the basketball so much, and for him to do a better job of picking his spots, because now you have a guy that's controlling the offense and can be able to get his own shot. So I still think in bringing in Jalen Brunson, there still is a thing with, that you're still building around Randle to see what he can give you. To me, that makes no sense, but I think that is what they're doing nonetheless.
Okay, so you disagree with the process. You like a lot of other people want to get that guy first and then put the other pieces around him. I understand what you're saying with that. I still don't think Julius Randle is the guy. I don't think they look at Julius Randle as being the guy, but I can see how that by giving Julius Randle that contract, that some people can say, the process is all wrong. You know what I mean? They could get the guy first and then bring in someone like Julius Randle.
You got it.
Salute to Jay Boogie, my man. OG said, you gave me a $20 super chat. Really appreciate you. Always appreciate you, OG. And by the way, I'm going to be at the game with him on Friday. Uncle Freezy. They are coming down. The Knicks are coming down to Charlotte, so I will be at that game. And, hopefully I get a chance to see some people who live down in this area at the game. But J Boogie says, shout out to the chat. Blessings, health, and happiness to you all. You're right. They have not signed a Supermax contract. We just signed a bunch of Super Mad contracts. Time to stir the teacup. See you Friday, my brother. See you Friday, OG. Thank you for that super chat. And I agree. I don't think we have any Supermax contracts. These are just role player kind of contracts, middle of the road, mediocre, which goes on to say, I don't know how anybody in their right mind could think that the Knicks were going to be better than what they are right now. And I'm talking 2 games under 500, 2 games above 500. If you thought the Knicks were going to be better than that, and I just think you were kidding yourself as a fan. I'm just sorry to say that. DSJ says the Knicks don't have a franchise player to offer a max. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. Jerry Nussbaum with some angry faces. 1804 Two Saints says he's a pick to get traded at this point. They're not trying to build anything around him at this point. I kind of agree with that. Pudge Knight said Bullock scored 0 points when we needed them. And Freeman 48 said this man makes sense. I think he's talking about QD. So
okay, cool. Thanks.
We're gonna assume it's you because people say I don't make sense all the time. I'm proven to be right. You know what I'm saying with everything that I'm saying right now. And let me get one more. Wesley Robinson. I haven't seen you in here. So checking in from Strong Island, New York, the home of Rakim, Freddie Fox, Keith Murray, Public Enemy, EPMD, Rock Marciano, Dr. J, Jim Brown, Danny Green, Tobias Harris. Salute for my man Wesley Robinson from Strong Island. I love it. CAA Mafia, these mid-contracts take you away from signing a superstar free agent for the next 3-4 years. So, yes, they build around it. All right, I'm going to get to the last question. This is going to be our last question right now. So, do you put a lot of blame? And, Tom Thibodeau, everyone is saying that the Knicks don't have a very balanced roster, even though at the beginning of the season people did, right? So, do you think that a lot of this is on Tom Thibodeau or the front office? Or is it both, right? Explain your reasoning. Why you think that's the case, and give your reasoning behind that a little bit.
Yeah, no doubt. I primarily, anybody that see the show and stuff primarily knows that I put full blame primarily on the front office. They set the pieces in motion. Thibs has always been Thibs. It's just who he is. Okay, they like I said before, they have articles of him of his 4-phase process and how he works. It's that predictable. So we already know what Thibs is, but somebody did let him out of the cage. And I'll say that it was the front office that let him out of the cage. They decided on the direction. They decided on the draft picks. They decided on the roster construction. They decided and also who was getting paid and when. So I would definitely have to put primarily the blame on the front office, but the figure could be pointed with the coaching staff as well. It could be pointed with the players as well. As far as not creating an identity, not building towards aspects of high energy, high effort every night. I mean, that's energy right there. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't schematically have to put that up. So, when you see things like that, that's not only front office, that's coaching staff and players as well. But I think if I had primarily had a choice to go ahead and point the finger at one place, it would definitely be at the front office.
Okay, and I agree with that to an extent, right? I agree with that to an extent. However, I do have an issue with Tom Thibodeau with how outdated his systems are, offensively and defensively. Now, he's a defensive coach, right? You know what I mean? He's had success in this league by coaching his teams to play defense. The Knicks in his first season were one of the best defensive teams in the NBA. Last year, we didn't start off so great, but we wound up finishing, top 10 or what have you in defense, right? Even though it wasn't the same type of output or production as it was in the previous season, I would say that they kind of got back to their roots towards the end of the season. This season right here, not so great, right? Not so great. And I think, it's going to improve over time. It's kind of going to get to the median. And Knicks won't be one of the worst defenses by season's end. But to have the team start off like this defensively, like this, worst three-point, giving up the worst three-pointers most three-pointers in the NBA by percentage, one of the worst teams at stopping teams from making shots in the NBA, period, right? Just horrible defense on the wing, on the perimeter, not being able to stop drives, leaving people wide open. I mean, wide open from three-point range. To me, I think a lot of that is on Tom Thibodeau and how he's coaching these guys, period. Offensively, we started off very hot. That was my thing. I want the Knicks to improve offensively. And we started off hot. However, it's starting to kind of taper off now, and everything is starting to get to the middle now. You know what I'm saying? So I have a lot of issues with Tom Thibodeau, his style of coaching. People are saying, oh, he yells too much and all that stuff. None of us truly knows what happens in practice. Yeah, no one really knows. We're just watching it to the television, right? I don't think he's lost the locker room yet or anything like that, but I do think there's ways that Tom Thibodeau can employ his methods to basically make this current team better. Now, are they going to be anything better than mediocre? No. And that part is on the front office. But like I said earlier, all these fans out here that didn't want the team to make any trades for Donovan Mitchell or trade for anybody else, this is on you. You want the team to be this way? We don't need to trade anybody. This is on you, right? So that's just how I feel about that. To me, the front office gets another 2 years because I think in order to build something, you can't do 3 years. You need more than that, more time than that to build. Particularly if you look at how when they first acquired the job, their salary cap situation and their roster situation, right? So I'm willing to give the front office a couple more years. What do you say to that?
God bless you. But this is our fork of the road here, Josh, where I feel like as soon as possible, because I'm seeing team building habits that it's not the way it's done. I'm seeing, and this is of course my opinion on this, signing guys too early are based on principles, on ways that it's not done. Right. When I go ahead and I spend money, if I bring in an employee or I bring somebody to the program or something like that, there's a reward system. There's an earning system to that. I don't care how you coach or how you played here. Here's a different environment. You come here, this is what we expect in these years and stuff like that. And then if we go ahead and feel good, then we'll give you the bag. But we're going to do it in due time because we got to properly evaluate you. We got to make sure that we're trending towards the right direction. I don't want to handicap myself and paying you, say, for example, it don't work. And now all of a sudden I'm scrambling to go ahead to somebody to bail me out because now this didn't work out. And that's the thing where with RJ Barrett, it could be a problem in years to come because right now, look, next year he's at 23-8. I agree with you. Not a big deal. 25-7 and then 27-7 and then 29-6, right? So I think if RJ Barrett, let's say, for example, he's the same player he is right now, right? And he's entering his third or fourth year of his contract at 25, 26 years old at 27.7, 29.6. I think for expiring purposes, maybe the only reason why somebody may take that, but I don't see people jumping out the window to go ahead and get that. So therefore, I have to put that on the front office now and say, you didn't have to pay him. All you had to do was evaluate and see, and who knows? Maybe if he doesn't play as well, you don't even have to give him $108 million. But you didn't give yourself the time to go ahead and properly evaluate that. So now you're stuck. So my point, and I'm sorry to rant on that point, but my point is, thank you. My point is just that the way that I understand and the way I've been taught and the way I've talked to how you build a team and the way I've done it with my farm programs is not the way that these guys are doing it. That's the way it should be done. We have to prioritize getting the guy first. That's like any organization knows that. That's why a tanking thing happens because. Do you
think that maybe they thought RJ was the guy foolishly? I think it's foolish if they thought that. But do you think that could be potentially why they made the decisions that they've made? Because you said about Randall about them giving him the contract. Do you think that they thought RJ was the guy? Either way, it doesn't make it better. I'm saying, in your opinion.
I don't know about what they thought, but what I would think is maybe they anticipated that there was going to be a leap, considering the fact he got a higher ball usage, he got higher volume, more shot attempts, stuff like that. And the numbers, although they were inefficient, they were still around 20, 21 points a game with about 6 or 7 rebounds or like 3.5 assists or something like that. So they thought, hey, listen, let's bank on him, right? And then he'll produce for us more because which I wouldn't do it that way, but that's the only way that I could think that they did this. So they kind of put in their cards a little bit too early on the poker table, so to speak, and just didn't let things rest. But all in all, I just feel like there's certain fundamental things that come into building your organization, right? Especially if finding the guy or if you're working through the draft, that you have to have an idea or direction of what you're looking for. And then those guys have to fit that. You know what I'm saying? So, a guy could be like, people say, oh, just get the star. He's the guy. But there's certain stars and guys that just do not fit in certain systems, bro. It doesn't matter how good he is.
Russell Westbrook.
Right. And you can even bring a Bradley Beal into that where it's kind of like the middle of the road. You're not really going anywhere with it.
Right.
Maybe it's not a good fit. What did they do? They signed him to what, $240 million or something like that? So, and although they are playing better this year because they do have a better cast around him, but these things are very important when you're building your organization. And I just felt that the front office has missed on a lot of these cues.
I agree with that to an extent, but I'm willing to give him a couple more years to kind of work that out. Listen, the Knicks are I don't think RJ's contract handicaps the Knicks. I don't think Randall's contract handicaps the Knicks. They still one of the lowest spending teams in the NBA by that graphic I just showed you. They got some contracts coming up the books next year, and they have a ton of assets. So I'm willing to let them kind of let that play out just for a little bit more time. I think when it comes to rebuilding, that's a 5-year process. That has to happen. Now, it's not working now. The team isn't winning now. After the Knicks were winning, I think a lot of people would say that differently, or will say something that's totally different. So I think let's give this time to play out a little bit. Actually, let's give it one more season, right? And I'll put it to you this way: the Porzingis trade, they gave us the 2021 for one of their 2021 first round picks, and also this offseason 2023 first round picks. Let's see where we go with that draft pick, right? And then then I'll be able to kind of break down and see whether we need to move on from the front office or not. And by the way, Knicks fans who told me years ago that the Knicks won the Porzingis trade, no, not yet. We still have to be able to find that out. Yes, I know Dallas traded Porzingis or whatever, but they got Spencer Dinwiddie back in that trade. Spencer Dinwiddie helped them get to the Western Conference Finals last year. Tim Hardaway's on that team, balling for them right now. He's not an all-star, nothing like that, but he's a piece that they kept, right? With the assets that we got, Dennis Smith Jr., no, that didn't go anywhere. The 2021 first-round pick that eventually turned into Quickly or Grimes or one of them like that, really good player, now just starting to get into the rotation, but no, right? And then 2023 is what we're, what we're kind of banking on for the Knicks to get a star. And on top of that, the whole reason why we did the Porzingis trade was to open up some cap space to sign KD and Kyrie to get those star players in there. We have not got those players then. We still don't have those players now. We got Julius Randle as a consolation. Pretty good one, but not a star player. So we're still in the same position. Go ahead, D.
No, I'm with you, man. I'm with you 100%. We have not won that trade whatsoever in any way, shape, or form as of right now.
Yes, sir. Well, D, thank you so much for coming on, man. I really appreciate you coming on with me. Been a long time coming. I'm going to go ahead and put your logo on the screen. Please let the people know where they can find you, how they can be able to reach you, contact you, and all of that. The floor is yours.
Absolutely. Yeah, I got you. Thanks. Yeah, social handles. D with a Hoops at D-Poetic 2 on Twitter. D with a Hoops, D-Poetic on TikTok. Okay, and if you guys want to go ahead and donate to the Cash App, because it is our channel, it is our private playground. We get to kick around different ideas from all different backgrounds and customs, and we respect each other while doing it. You guys can, and don't break the bank with it, guys. It could be Cash App at $D with a Hoops 4. The Cash App is at $D with a Hoops 4. And you guys can go ahead and catch me at 12 p.m. on pre-games and post games as well, and on Sunday at 12 as well. So, like for example, tomorrow we have a pregame. You guys can catch me at 12 o'clock, and we go into an in-depth analysis and breakdown about the pregame against the New York Knicks and Atlanta Hawks for tomorrow.
Yeah, and that's my man D from D's World of Hoops. You know what I'm saying? Really appreciate you coming on again. Let me just get myself back in here real quick. So yeah, like he explained, you can definitely follow him on all his platforms. I got a link to in the description of this video of his YouTube channel. Please check him out. Let's grow his channel. Let's donate to his channel, and let's make sure we take care of him. Okay. So I really appreciate you for coming on, D, once again. And I'll be remiss before, no problem. And I'll be remiss before I get out of here to bring this up because I told my man Jay Boogie I would do this for him. This is his the biggest song off the new album that he has coming out, or it's already out on all platforms. So I'm going to go ahead and play it for you guys. Please go ahead and enjoy. I need sound. Where's my sound?
Yep.
There you go.
Right. Shout out to Jay Boogie.
They say we everywhere. We all over the place. If you don't see us, that means you ain't nowhere. You heard? We all over. headline of the city, the Post paper, the Daily paper, everywhere in the city. Knick Chronicles, baby. Let's get it. When you talking to Knicks, we the biggest. Fan base in the league, we the biggest. When you see them, you tell them they the biggest. The most loyal people, we the biggest. When you talking to Knicks, we the biggest. Fan base in the league, we the biggest. When you see them, you tell them they the biggest. The most loyal people, we the biggest. It's game time, tell them, yeah, we outside. You know my voice, the young Mr. Walt Clyde. They say this year we blessed this, a new hope. I'm courtside next to Tracy Morgan Road. We so official, every game is sold out. You see the fans, stars, them carpets rolled out. I'm on this track, NBA, no bleach report. Don't even ask for a short, this ain't a Newport. Flash report, tell them this is just in. You see Max outside, just don't let him in. I walk the streets every day with some grown men. I go left, cross back like I'm Brunson. Who that is? J Boogie, I'm so nice. I need a little bit more than yesterday's price. When you see him, you tell him, your boy, I'm locked in. I'm well surrounded with fans, we in the garden. When you talking to Knicks, we the biggest. Fan base in the league, we the biggest. When you see them, you tell them they the biggest. The most loyal people, we the biggest. When you talking to Knicks, we the biggest. Fan base in the league, we the biggest. When you see them, you tell them they the biggest. The most loyal people, we the biggest. If you ain't orange or blue, then you can't relate. I had them toxic boys that ate your Twitter space. A lot of people right now, they on clickbait. I had your forehead looking like your Stephen A. All the real creators be on the podcast. Take a look at the chat, you get my broadcast. The forecast is scattered with a lot of rain. My 4 boys and pill jerk by Danny Ainge. New squad, new season, it's a new team. Shout out to Harlem Girl and Miss Geraldine. Play the youth, the kids, they gon' play hard. For 4 years, I just signed a 9-guard. The way we look right now, this a Nick thing. I might bring with the flow, so this here bang. Shout out the real ones that'll stay loyal. All the Nets fans, we know it's disloyal. When you talking to Knicks, we the biggest. Fan base in the league, we the biggest. When you see them, you tell them they the biggest. The most loyal people, we the biggest. When you talking to Knicks, we the biggest. Fan base in the league, we the biggest. When you see them, you tell them they the biggest. The most loyal people, we the biggest. When you come to the city and play for the Knicks, you're going to get the biggest and most appreciated love. We the people it is in the world that's going to support our team. We the biggest.
So, yes, ladies and gentlemen, that was the song The Biggest off of Pulling Up for 3 EP by J Boogie. You can find it on all your streaming platforms right now. Here it is for you, Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube. Make sure you go check that out. Salute to my man J Boogie, always a big supporter of the show. And that's how we're going to end it, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, thank you. Appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in with me, guys. I have to run. I am in a league that I have to get in and get to right now. But it's always a pleasure, entertaining y'all. Thank y'all for the comments. Thank you for the super chats. And make sure you stay tuned for the next episode of The Kontroversy. I'm out.